This is an overview of the flip card or waterfall card template that will show you how to make cards that look like this. This is the template. It's designed perfectly to fit on an 8.5 by 11. It's 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. You place it on a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock and it'll give you minimal amount of cutting. And then you just trace the template here and here. And there's these little markings like all the other templates have. They have these little V indices. You want to make sure that you mark each one of these. They're there, here, here. There's a number of them. And what they do is they give you the indices for scoring. When you're done, you'll end up with a piece that is traced like this. I made the lines very dark so that they would show up on the camera. And you take these V indices and we'll score them point to point. So after I cut it out, I end up with a piece like this. And just to give you an idea of how we're using these V indices, is you just go point to point, score it, score it, score it, score it, score it. There's 5 of these. There's one down here. This is my pull tab. So I'll score this one point to point. And then there's 2 more, one here, point to point. This will give me my sleeve. And one here, point to point. And when I'm done, I have a piece of cardstock that looks like this. I will fold this, and then I would glue this on here. And then this piece goes into the sleeve, and this is my moving component. So you can see the different angles here. This is for my panels that I will create and adhere to there. So the directions have the exact size that you need to create these panels, and I've layered this so that I can mount a photo on here and get a nice effect. And all you do is you glue these on one by one to each one of the panels. 1, 2, 3, and then there's 5 in all. And when you're done, you end up with something like this. This is the view from the side. You can see how they're mounted, each one to the panel. And then your card will be like this. This is an overview of the A2 swivel card template that will help you create a card that swivels like this one. And how you use it is, this is the template. You place it on a piece of cardstock and you trace the perimeter and cut it down to size until you have a blank that's like this. There's markings on this template as well that you'll want to mark. You take a pencil here with this V and a V, and there's a V and a V. Then you take a pencil right here and here, and these are cut lines. You're going to want to cut these later on with an X-Acto, and then after we have all the indices, this little V here, you score from the V to the top of this cut line like so, and then down here also there's a V here. You can't see it, no doubt, on this camera. And then you'd go to the other side and you score from the V indice to the cut line and over here. And then of course I would cut these out right here, and when I'm done I would have a blank that looks like this. It's already cut, has the score marks right in it like that, like so right here, in order to get this. Now this template has done all the thinking for you. If you wanted to create layered images that fit perfectly in the exact spots that you need them to, this template will show you exactly how to do that. So these markings right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, will fit exactly into this window, and it'll also show you exactly how to place this into the image later on, so that it shows up on this panel as the card swivels. So in order to get these sizes, what I do is I take a blank piece of cardstock that I want to use as my backdrop, and then I mark these 4 indices with a pencil, and then I draw my box and I cut it to size, and when I'm done, I have a piece that is exactly that size. So now I can use this as a layer. This is a piece of complementary cardstock, and it would fit exactly in here like so, right there, and then I would lay my photo on top of that to get a wonderful little layer like I did here. Same with the other side. This is the long panel, and so what you want to get some layers to get some really nice effects there. You would use the other 4 indices, would be the external, the far ones, 1, 2, 3, and 4, to get a blank that is exactly this size. And then you can mount that onto the blank, onto the big panel here. You flip it on the complementary side to get it to really bounce. and you adhere that in there, and then you add your photo on top of that with a little bit of a border, and you'll get an image that looks like so. So this is the A2 swivel card template. This is an overview on how to use the A2 slider card template. This slider card template makes two different versions of a slider card like this. The first one gives you a very parallel line, so when you pull the card out, it's just moving horizontally like this. The second version of this template will give you a slider card that has a tapered look, where the lines are kind of like a little bit of a V. So as you pull the card out like this, it appears to kind of grow as it pulls out. So this is how you use the template. You place it on a piece of cardstock, trace it to size, and when you're done, you'll end up with a blank that looks like this. The template has these markings. There's little V's right here, and a V, a V, and a V, and then it has these lines. And what you do is you place this back on your template, on your cardstock, and where the V's are, you want to take a little pencil point there, right at the point of the V, point, and those are my score lines. Now these over here, these other lines, if you wanted to do the horizontal, the parallel looking card, these are cut lines, so you trace these with a pencil, the parallel ones, and then we'd cut them later. If you wanted to do one that had the tapered look, you would use these angled ones like that. There's one and there's the other. Again, they would be cut lines. There's also a little scallop here for the pull tab, right? So you want to trace this and then cut it later. And when you're done, I would use these indices and a straight edge like the edge of my template to give me my score lines, point to point. And then over here's the other one. I would go point to point over there, and then I would cut this and also cut this scallop. Now I have all the folds I need for this. There's one there and there's one here. You'll notice in the sample I actually have two scallops. This is not on a template. I actually let the paper become the template. So what I do is I do the first one, and I want it to be an exact match. So I use the first one to be my guide. So then I trace this and then cut it out so it's a perfect match. So this is what I have when I'm done. This is the tapered one right here. So I have to set this aside because I need to create my blank, my piece, my slider card that goes in and out. This one's the one that is already pre-cut, and how you do that is, this template has another set of indices right here. There's a little L here, there's a V and a cut line like this. So I take this on the factory cut edge, the sharp corner, 90-degree corner, and I bisect these little V's, so they're bisecting my cardstock, and then I line up this corner right here with the L. Now I trace this and I cut it. That's the exact size I need. And then right here I trace this and I'll cut this later. So when I'm done, I will have a piece that is exactly to match, like so. See how it is? The L, the triangle, the V and the V. And then here's my cut line. And this becomes my slider, my tab, my pull tab. Then you just basically kind of just weave this in here, over and under. And I pre-designed this card. And then you would just glue this to this side. And then you have your slider, like so. This is the A2 slider card template. It makes these tapered ones and also the horizontal parallel line. This is an overview on how to use the number 10 slider card template that will create a slider like this. It will create sliders that have horizontal parallel lines, and it'll also create a slider that has tapered lines that are kind of in a little bit of a V pattern like so. Here's another one that gives you this sort of look like that. So how you use this is the template that will show you every score mark that you need in every cut line. You place this on a piece of cardstock and you trace it around the perimeter, and when you're done you'll end up with a blank that looks like this. And then you place your template back on the blank, and there's these little indices all over the template There's a little V here, a V here, V here, V here, V here, and then there's these lines. If you want to make a parallel line slider, you would use those two, and if you wanted to make one tapered, you would use these. All you have to do is trace these with a pencil and then cut them with an X-Acto. So this is what it looks like. So you'd come over here and you'd mark this V, this V, this V down here, and this one. And then also over here, to get this little open pull tab, you would draw a pencil mark here and then cut this later. And then in this sample, I'm just using the parallel horizontal lines. So once I have everything I need, I come out here with my straight edge and I go point to point and I score this. And I come over here point to point and I would score this scoring tool like this. Then I would take my X-Acto where I made these lines and I would cut this in parallel and also cut this out. Now you'll notice another scallop here. What I did to get this to match up perfectly is that after I have the one, I then just fold this over. I would trace it and cut it again, and then that way they're an exact match just like that. So this is what I have when I'm finished. And now I need the internal sliding component that we're going to use, and that's this piece. And how I size that is I use the template here, has all the markings. There's a little V here, an L and a V, and this is a cut line. So what I would do is I would lay this on a piece of cardstock with this 90-degree angle, and I would line up I would bisect everywhere I see these little V's. I would bisect them, the triangles, so that the cardstock goes right to the point, and then this L, I would trace this with a pencil, and then right here I would draw this with a pencil as well, and that becomes my cut line. And then after I cut that down to size, I end up with a piece that you can see here is an exact match of my indices. I'll just remove this piece, and there it is. So I've got my cut line like this. This is the piece that I embellished. You can embellish this after you have it in position inside the card. And what you do is you just weave this in here over and under, like so. You'd apply a little bit of glue to this edge here, and then bring it closed, and you've got your card. So again, this template, the number 10 slider template, makes cards that have a parallel slider or a tapered slider like this. This is an overview of the Magic Card template that will allow you to have one of these wild cards that has a perpetual fold over to it. If you watch the boy in the striped shirt up at the top, the stripes are at the top, and that shot's there. The boys keep switching. So now the striped boy is on the bottom. And the girl always stays on the left. So this is a magic card. And this template shows you exactly how to how to get all the components you need to do this. So you place this template on a piece of cardstock. It's actually 8.5 inches by 5.5, so you'll get the two pieces you need out of a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. So you place and trace it, then cut it, and these two little lines right here are cut lines. So you'll want to place this back on a piece of cardstock after you've traced it and cut it to size, and then these are your cut lines right here. And then they're also where you would score. You would use them as a marking to score this to get the perfect fold. So what you want to do is get two of these exactly the same in size. They don't have to be the same color. And you orient these like this. They're both opening to the left. The other thing you need is you need 4 strips of, this is 8.5 by 1/4 inch a piece. I like to use cardstock once in a while. I prefer ribbon because it won't wear out and it'll give you a living hinge like forever. So it'll always stay intact. But it's easier to start with the cardstock. And again, this is an overview. There are a few written instructions for this and a full video on our website. But anyway, you want to line these up like so. And then the first thing you want to do is, this is the next step of what we've done. The first thing you do is you take about 2-inch overlap and you do a little X right here. And then this is the overlap I'm looking for. And then I'm going to fold this over like so. I bring it in like so. And then I fold it over. Whoops, I did this one backwards. There we go. I have the bottom one coming up like so. I want about 2 inches there, and the rest of the fold is going to be between the papers, like this. So as I open this, you'll see that I have them already adhered into position, and I've got an X. And on this sheet, this one I start with it open, and I bring them over and I adhere these two into position. And you want to keep about 1/8 of an inch, or 1/16 of an inch between the cards. You want them to be parallel down here. This is a little tricky because you got a lot of moving parts here. So do not glue this to here. So this is adhered, this is adhered. Now you have this. The next thing you do is you take another one of your strips and you just fold over about 2 inches of it, like so. Then you're going to slide it into this mark, like that. And you're going to put some glue there, and you're going to end up adhering it to the other side of the card, folding it over until you have this. See how this piece comes across like that? And like this one here on the bottom, you do the same thing. You slide the other piece into the slot, fold it over, and it's got glue on this side so it's sticking. So as I flip this over, you'll see that that's what I have here, and it's extending off the edge right like so. So now I literally have all the pieces I need, and the next thing I want to do is I'm taking these pieces and opening this and bringing them in like that. And now I'd apply a little bit of glue here so it's going to stick to the underside there, and then I run this one on, same thing, glue right there, and bring it in. And I want to make sure that these are a little snug, and when I'm done, I have everything that I need now to make. I didn't glue this into place, but you would apply a little bit of glue in here to finish off this card so that it would stay closed. And then you'd slide a little bit of glue into position right here and on the top side. And that's what gives me this particular piece, like so, when I'm finished. This one's actually a little up, it's upside down. The way I did the other card, the X was here and the lines are there. But you see that everything's in position, and then you could embellish it at this point in the open areas, put your pieces so that you would get sayings or photographs, and it would just perpetually just fold over like this. So that's the A2 magic card template.